about this particular topic that God had put in my heart to bring to the church here today is about following Jesus. I'm very sure that you have heard many messages on this particular topic, but this is something particular that Lord wanted to bring here, and I will try to bring that out to you as much as possible. Something that I've been noticing for the last couple of times I've been here is that every time I ask Lord what needs to be brought here, He always points to Matthew. I don't know why. And it's been, I think, from the second time I came here to bring the word, it has been from Matthew all the time. And I think the last time that I came to preach was again from Matthew 9 itself. It was the preceding paragraph after this, and it feels like, to me, it feels like, I don't know if anybody has taken out a compass to check the direction. You will see that the needle fluctuates first and then stands still. And it's kind of like that feeling it's giving me, that the Lord is pointing the church in a particular direction. I don't know what exactly is the direction it's not given me, but it is very, it feels very odd, because I've gone to preach in other places and I've never done this before. And I feel that it's kind of like the compass needle fluctuating and standing still at a point. The Lord is leading this church into a particular direction that He wants to take you into. And so let's come back to this particular topic of Matthew 27. So it starts off with saying something. When Jesus departed from there, 2 blind men followed Him. I kind of feel that very, kind of like a very difficult statement. 2 blind men followed Him. How did 2 blind men follow Him? So that's it's kind of, I was thinking about this and I thought they must have gone with the crowd. And what surprised me about this fact was that there were 2 blind men. It was 2 blind men that followed Jesus. They never saw Jesus do anything. They never could see what was happening around them. They heard something about a man called Jesus, about Him doing so many things, but they could never verify it is the same Jesus. Because Jesus, I think, was a common name at that point of time. And they could never verify it's the same person. But they still followed. That struck me. They were blind people, never saw Him do anything, but they heard about a person called Jesus doing something. They could never verify it's the same guy with their own eyes. They had to just listen to other people saying it, and they still chose to follow. And it struck me very much. When I thought about this, it made me think about us who are in this time and age. We have never seen Jesus physically doing something. We've heard about Him through the Word. We have heard about what He does through others. Some have experienced Him personally. Some have not. But we still choose to follow Him. And that really struck me about this particular situation. That these 2 blind people followed Him. And why did they follow Him? I asked, why are you guys following Him? You're blind, you don't even know it's the same guy. And what I thought about that situation, what God put in my heart, is what they heard gave them hope. Because till that point, they were always said that you are blind. You're going to be limited by that. You're going to be defined by that all the days of your life till the day you die. You're going to be considered, I think it is John chapter 5 or 9, I think, that somebody was even judged for being blind. Who sinned? The disciples were asking Jesus, who has sinned that this man is blind? So that is the verdict that they had hanging over their lives. And then they heard something different to what they have been hearing to that point. They've been always been said that this is your limit. This is what you are going to be defined by. And that they heard something different that gave them hope. A hope for the impossible. What? They've heard somebody is out there who's opening blind eyes, who's making the lame walk, who's raising up the deceased, who is, I don't know, at this point of time, I don't know if I didn't correlate the timeline, even raising the dead. And whatever they heard gave them hope for a different future, a different life than that which they are facing right now. And that is what gave them hope. And this hope turned to faith. Because what do you think faith is? Faith, if you look at the very definition of it in the Bible in Hebrews 11, now faith is the assurance of things hoped for. It is the assurance of things hoped for. So this, what they've heard, what people have been telling around them, gave them a hope that their life need not be limited to what they've been living under, the formulations, the definitions that the world around them has been giving them. They don't need to be limited by that anymore. There is a source of hope. And this built in a faith in them. And that's why it's in Romans, I think it says faith comes by hearing, and hearing by the word of the Lord. So, and you need to understand, you have to look at how they followed. They were not willing to give up this chance for anything. They didn't care if it was wrong. If they were in the wrong crowd, they could have been in the wrong crowd, growing a different direction, may not be in the same Jesus, but they were not willing to give up that chance that they thought they had, and they didn't follow silently. They never followed silently. They were not following in silence. They even shouted what others wouldn't dare to shout. They said, "Son of David, have mercy on me." Because, if you look at John 9 again, it says that if anybody would confess that Jesus was Christ, they would be put out of the synagogues. It is kind of like social canceling for them. If they're out of the synagogues, they're not part of the society. So, they were willing to risk everything, and they were shouted what others wouldn't dare. And they testified what they believed of him. And, it reminds me again of this same man. Whenever I was thinking about it, it always reminded me of this man in John chapter 9. This man actually, after receiving his healing, he stood up boldly and said, when others said that, "What do you say of him?" He said boldly, "I believe this man is from God, because no one can open the eyes of a man born blind unless he is from God." For his testimony of Jesus, they kicked him out. But I want you to understand, if you look at John chapter 9, 31 to 33, when Jesus heard that he was cast out, Jesus went and found him. That is the God whom we serve. He doesn't just, you might be casted out for your testimony, but don't think that Jesus is going to also cast you out. And so I just wanted to, it's just a little bit of part that I felt that I needed to say here when I was thinking about this. I want you to understand, they didn't take any chances. If this was the Jesus that whom they've been hearing about, they were not willing to give up the chance to have their destiny, their definition changed. And how did Jesus respond? That's what struck me too. Jesus was silent. Jesus was silent all throughout the way. They were following Jesus, crying, "Son of David, have mercy on me." And Jesus was silent. Didn't acknowledge their cries, nothing. They had to follow him to the house he was till he said something to them. And that is a bit difficult thing for us to comprehend. But what I understood out of it is the silence tries our faith. Do we have an assurance in him? Is our hope really in him? And this silence is sometimes it's very painful. It's very painful. I can just tell you, maybe just come to this and I'll say this. The trials are that which proves the genuineness of our faith. That's what 1 Peter 1:7 says. It's all very nicely put, and it's all very theological and everything. But when we go through the silence, it is very hard. You do not know if you're ever going to come out of that point of silence But what did these guys do? I think they just kept following him. They kept following him till he would acknowledge them. That's what these two did. And you can think that the silence of Jesus where it was unjust. It is kind of feels like it's unjust in this particular context, but I want you to remind him of what he did. If you look at Isaiah 53, he says he was oppressed, he was afflicted, yet he opened not his mouth. He was very clear of the goodness of God even in the silence that the Father showed him. That he expects that same level of commitment from us. Even when you think that he's silent, can you expect that silence to be good? Jesus suffered in silence. Everything done to him to rescue us. He didn't just do something. He accepted everything that the Father had put on his shoulder in silence. And you can tell me that, yeah, but Jesus cried out on the cross, my God, why did you forsake me? It was not a cry against the Father. Do you know why Jesus cried out on the cross, my God, why did you forsake me? Turn to Psalms 22. And what do you read in the first verse of Psalms 22? Psalms 22 verse 1 reads, my God, why have you forsaken me? He was just referencing the psalm. You know why? He was not crying out against the Father. He was crying out, remember what is written in Psalms 22. Because in Psalms 22, it says, all those who see me ridicule me. They short out their lip. They shake their head, saying, he trusted in the Lord, let him rescue. There were people who were saying that. Strong bulls have surrounded me. Strong bulls of Bashan have encircled me. I am poured out like water. All my bones are out of joint. My heart is like wax. It is melted. And that says, they pierced my hand and my feet. They divided my garments among them. And for my clothing, they cast lots. Jesus was saying this. Remember the psalm. The entire scene of what you are seeing right now is already written about me. He was just referencing that psalm. People think that, he was crying out in his anguish. No, he was telling the people, those who knew the word, this is what is happening right now around me. They were casting lots for his garments. They had pierced his hand and his feet. It was just a reference. And so Jesus, whatever was given to him, he suffered in silence. And this blind responded by saying to whatever silence that Jesus showed them, they just followed him. They kept on following him till they would see him, because they saw hope in no one else. Nobody could cure their blindness. Nobody could change their destiny other than Jesus. Because Jesus is not a way. People have this belief that they say that he's one of the ways. No, he is the way. Understand that. And Jesus has this question to them. Do you believe that I can do this, to the blind man? And I put this is my addition to the text, saying, do you still believe that I can do this? You've been following me, crying out, declaring, testifying, everything. And I've been silent, you still came to me. Do you still believe that I can do this? And they said yes. And their faith and their testimony opened a way there was no way. This is also nicely, you can think about it, you can make different parallels about this and say different things, but the reality of it is quite hard. The silence which tries our faith is very hard. Let me be very frank with you and let me tell you out of experience, this is not an easy thing to do. Maybe something, what happened, I think this is in the month of March. Let me tell you. So as a church, I told you we have an Indian fellowship, and as a church, it was decided to, or the Lord put in my heart that we should have a 3-day fasting prayer. So we fasted from Friday, from Thursday night all the way to Sunday afternoon. So we were deciding to have 3 days of fasting, out of which 2 days we would meet on Zoom because everybody couldn't make it to Leuven. So 2 days in the evening we used to meet. It's usually what we do is whenever we have a fasting prayer, we meet on Zoom the first 2 days in the evening, and on Sunday we all come together. So Friday is our fasting starting. So we are praying because we wanted to get to know God a bit. I mean, we wanted to come closer to God. We wanted to spend some focused time with Him. This is the intention of, and we wanted to get a particular direction, the directions in our life, we wanted to be led by God. So that's why we come in fasting and prayer, and we were doing this. And before Friday could even come, Thursday, my daughter was admitted in the hospital. Her O2 went down to, I think, 83%. Her oxygen saturation shot down to 83%. And my wife is in the hospital with her. So I'm left to organize everything and then do the church. They had a guest at home. So all those things, okay, the first day went like that, with my wife being in the hospital, with my daughter being in the hospital. The second day, the preacher came on to preach on Zoom. And in the middle of the preaching, the Zoom cut off. Okay, and this guy, and I'm calling him, he's trying to get on. And every time he open the Zoom link, his computer and his entire electricity in his house goes off. He tried multiple times. He couldn't. So we entered the meeting somehow. Luckily, my father-in-law, who was joined me from US at that time, so he's also a pastor, so he took care of the meeting a bit himself. So it let us, we somehow, we just reached the end point. And then, on Saturday evening, I'm going to relieve my wife so that she could come and take a shower. I went to the hospital after that meeting, and I came back. And I'm going to the hospital, I'm shivering. Not because of anything, because my body got feverish. I couldn't stand up. And I'm doing this. I took my little daughter who is on oxygen in my hand, and I'm shivering. My wife's like, "You don't need to relieve me. You need to be relieved. Go home." But I told, it's okay. I will manage for an hour, at least go take a shower and come back. So I came back after that, and I was like, I'm still sick. I'm still sick like crazy. I have guests at home. I needed to take care of them. And many things were going on, and I'm feverish. And then I had a thought in my heart, should I really have the meeting tomorrow? And the only answer that my spirit could say was that whatever may come, as long as I have breath in my mouth, this will happen. That is the only voice that was dominant in my mind. I didn't care. I was feverish. I didn't care everything that was happening around me. I just said that whatever may come, tomorrow this meeting will happen. It's not something that came out of me. It was a strength that God gave me at that time. And I'm trying to fall asleep. You couldn't, because my fever had rose to that extent. I couldn't even get up from bed to get a paracetamol. So I was in bed trying to sleep, and I said, Father, whatever happens, I'm going to get up tomorrow, I'm going to go to church, I'm going to preach, I'm going to welcome your children, we're going to gather together in your name, and we're going to finish this fasting. And in the night, I understood what Peter's mother-in-law felt when Jesus prayed over her. They said that the fever left her body. I felt that body, something just leaving my body. So we got up and we had the church. So you can ask God, you can ask me in all of this, where was God? Is it only there to heal you? What about your daughter? But before My daughter got sick. God arranged that particular appointment for her in the hospital 1 month prior. He knew I needed help. I don't know his ways perfectly, but I know that whatever he does is good. So the silence, I've been praying, Lord, my family has been praying, as the church has been praying for her. I heard silence. But despite all that, God led us through, is what I would say. Can you, in the midst of the silence that you think God is showing you, can you still be confident in the one you follow and go up to him? I need an answer. I need this help in this situation. I want to ask ourselves this question: why are we following Jesus? I looked at the classes of people in Matthew and all the Gospels. I saw the crowd following Jesus to see something spectacular. They wanted to see something. After the 5,000 feeding, I think there was a crowd who wanted to eat more bread, and Jesus even called them out on it, I think in John chapter 5. The sick who came to him to be healed. The Pharisees, the scribes, the Herodians, the Sadducees, who followed him to find a reason to accuse him and kill him. And then there was the last class, the disciples who were called by him. I wanted to ask ourselves this question: to which class do we belong? Why are we actually following him? Why am I here today? Why am I following Jesus? And if you look at what Jesus expects of you in following him, it is written in Matthew 16:24. Jesus said to his disciples, if anyone desires to come after me, let him deny himself, take up the cross, and follow me. That is the way that Jesus expects us to follow him. Whatever might have brought you to Jesus, it doesn't matter. If you're continuing to follow him, understand that he desires us to take up our cross and follow him. What is this? Taking up, to deny ourselves means to deny our own opinions, our own timings. If you think that this is the end result of what this should be, I'm sorry, you're not denying yourself. If you desire this is the timing in which something needs to happen according to me, sorry, you're not designing yourself. We need to leave our opinions and our timings at the door and let Jesus take hold of how things should proceed in what time. To take up our cross, to be ready to die to ourselves. To be ready to die to ourselves. That it's not who we are, who is what we think is best, but what he thinks is best for us. And consider following Jesus above all leadings. And I want you to just turn your attention to a warning that was given in Revelations chapter 3 verses 18. It's to the church in Laodicea. I can't pronounce it, sorry. My tongue is getting tired over there. Laodicea, the Laodiceans. So there's a warning that was given to them because Jesus called them out for being lukewarm. They were neither cold, nor they were hot. They were neither in or out. They were on the fence. Because you say, I'm rich and have become wealthy and have need of nothing, and do not know that you are wretched, miserable, poor, blind, and naked. I counsel you to buy from me gold refined in fire, that you may be rich, and white garments that you may be clothed, that the shame of your nakedness may not be revealed, and anoint your eyes with ICEL, that you may see. What does this mean actually? They found their security in their riches. They invested everything into their riches, and they found their security. They found the security of their provision, of their protection, of their future in the money that they had. That's why it says gold, it says clothing and ICEL. They found security in what? In the money that they had. Let me tell you, nothing can actually assure a future by $1 million or $1 billion or $1 trillion in my bank account. I cannot ensure 1 second of my future. My future is only secure in God. I have learned this out of experience. Some of you know that I have my PhD in my field of engineering. By that PhD, I couldn't secure a job for 6 years. I tried for 6 years to find a job. I couldn't. Not 6, actually. For 4 years, I tried. I couldn't find a job. And at the end of the 4th year, I found a job, but because of Corona, they canceled my contract at the last minute. So by my abilities, by what the world says, Lord, it can increase your probability of a particular effect happening. But it can never assure anything. The only person who can assure something is God. That's my experience. I can increase the probability of things happening a certain way by studying. I'm not telling you not to study, but I'm telling you, by all what we do, it can increase the probability. Assurance is only in God. And that's what I want you to bring to you today. Follow Jesus. He's the only way for us, for our future. He's the way. And the one we follow, whom we call the Lord. I like this particular verse in 2 Thessalonians. And I want to end it with this. The Lord whom we are following, He's faithful. He will establish you and guard you from the evil one. That is the Lord whom you follow. So trust Him and follow Him. Despite the silence, despite what tries your faith, continue to follow Him. Because He's the way. He's the one and only way for us to follow. Amen. I hope you're blessed by these words. Maybe just before I give the mic to Kenny, I just want to pray for you as a church. Let's just bow our heads. Let's just bring what we heard to the Lord. Ask Him, Lord, is there something in me that is preventing me from following you properly? Lord, I want to ask you for your forgiveness for that. Help me to follow. There have been many times I heard only your silence, and I thought that you didn't care. I want to ask you for your forgiveness. I know you cared enough to die on the cross of the Calvary for my sins. You gave me value far beyond I can give myself value, Father, because you gave me a value in sending your only Son to me, to die on the cross for me. Father, we bring ourselves to you. We commit ourselves to follow you. I bring everyone who is here, who bow their heads, who's gathered together in your name. You bless them. You direct their every way. You hedge them before and behind. Your hand be upon them and you strengthen them. I speak your peace. I speak your blessings upon them and your favor be upon them in every aspect of their lives, Lord. I ask everything in your most holy and matchless name I pray. Amen.